States. At the same time, there have been brave, fierce, and ingenious organizers, activists, and advocates who have unleashed their radical imaginations to work against injustice and find creative solutions for healing and reconciliation, recognizing that to free the people, we must also free the land, free the art, free the buildings, free the history, free public discourse, and all aspects of our interconnectedness. In August of this year, the city of Chicago announced a racial healing and historical reckoning project to assess the memorials and monuments and other art across Chicago. NPHM Executive Director, Dr. Lisa Yoon Lee, is on the advisory committee charged with grappling with the often unacknowledged or forgotten history associated with the city's various art collections, monuments, and memorials. Why can't memorials and monuments be fleeting, slighter, less precious, less heroic? Asked Romy Crawford, School of Art Institute Chicago professor of visual and critical and Africana studies, in a recent panel discussion with Chicago Humanities Festival. What if the deeper knowledge of our histories was deemed just as important as the markers that commemorate them? Crawford probed. At NPHM, we are equally excited and inspired by Dr. Crawford and the artist her scholarly work engages. If this is the first time you're hearing the name Romy Crawford, we strongly encourage you to Google and catch up. That said, rather than presenting another Monuments and Memorials panel, as there have been many great and necessary contributions over the last few months, this conversation hopes to serve and uplift the voices of the people whose histories are often unacknowledged or forgotten by history, because as Romy reminds us, these are the voices who will. Now, without further ado, please welcome NPHM oral historian Shakira Johnson and artist and designer Lauren Miranda.
Hi everyone, I'm Shakira. Hi everyone, I'm Shakira.
All right.
I'm the oral historian. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Hello, I can hear you just fine. Thanks for being here.
Okay.
I'm excited to speak with you both this evening about your work on At Home. Let's start with some brief introductions and then jump right in. Shakira, I understand you have a long history with the museum, so hoping you can make a long story short. And can you tell the people your current position at the museum and how you got here?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. So hello, everybody. I'm Shakira, the oral historian for the National Public Housing Museum. I've actually been affiliated with the National Public Housing Museum for about 10 years now. And growing up in public housing, I wanted to find a way to give back to my community, and I learned more about oral histories and what it takes to actually learn how to do that process. And I fell in love with sharing everyday experiences with people as well as my own. So that's kind of why I'm here and why I'm doing this type of work.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And Lauren, you've done a few projects with PHM as far as I know, but you're the real visionary behind At Home, and we're so glad that you brought this project to us. This conversation about monuments and memorials, it's a new one for many, but not for you. You've been doing this work for a long time. So in addition to introducing yourself, could you ground us a bit in the backstory? And if you don't mind, start from the beginning. What is a monument anyway?
Well, hello, my name is Lauren Miranda, and I am the founder and lead designer at Studio Brazen. I'm also an assistant professor of design at Northeastern Illinois University. And I have done work with the National Public Housing Museum for the past few years. And I've been working in the realm of museums, monuments, and memorials for almost 10 years now. So what is a monument? In one of the quintessential resources on monuments, the author writes, in the oldest and most original sense, a monument is a work that man erects for the specific purpose of keeping particular human deeds or destinies alive and present in the consciousness of future generations. So that raises some red flags for me, like who gets to decide which particular human deeds or destinies get to be kept alive, because someone is making those decisions. the idea that official narratives are being curated and solidified in stone is one reason why monuments are having a moment right now. This has been a conversation for many years, but has really been thrust to the foreground recently with the rise of protests around the country, showing outrage over the monumentalization of Confederate soldiers. People are tired of our history being presented in a way that pacifies reality and that keeps us from learning and growing. I began this research in 2012 while working on my MDes at UIC, where I looked into the design of public memory through museums, monuments, and memorials. It was during this time that I designed my first memorial installation, which I will share a little bit about in a moment. But first, I want to talk about some of the findings of my research that inform my work with monuments and memorials. I started by gathering and analyzing resources. I found that most monuments fall somewhere on the spectrum between official and vernacular. Official monuments are relatively permanent, most often stone or bronze, while vernacular monuments are generally more fleeting, showing evidence of those who have made them. Dissecting monuments, in order to understand the significance of these differences, I put out a survey to determine the public perception of each of these types of monuments, resulting in these lists of characteristics. Then from these lists, I attempted to identify characteristics for what it would mean to design a more democratic monument, intentionally including multiple authorship, content that can grow and expand, a physical presence that is ephemeral, meaning that it may exist in one space for a moment and then somewhere else again at another time. This monument allows public memory to flow from those it is bound to define, rather than a single curatorial voice. It was from this research that I designed an unofficial NIU memorial in response to the official stone memorial the school erected for the mass shooting that took place on campus in 2008. For the unofficial memorial, I collected over 300 stories from students and faculty about their memory of the moment, including my own story. Each story scrolled like a newsreel across sheer screens suspended in space. The speed at which the text moved was determined by how fast the narrator felt time was moving in the moment. That was my first attempt at a different kind of monument. One that is about the present as much as the past, one that is more democratic, that continues to grow, expand, and move around. A different kind of monument that is ephemeral by nature and demonstrates power by making a mark in a public space. Okay, so all of that leads to the development of this monument at home. For this project, we looked at the idea of the building as a monument. The former Jane Addams homes and the future site of NPHM, or the future site of NPHM, which is sitting still while the renovation is being planned. But monuments can fall silent if not kept alive through a ritual, public use, and/or protest. It can activate the site through artistic intervention, and we can bring consciousness to that which many may see as unmonumental, that being life at home.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. So speaking of at home, can you tell us a little bit about the process for creating at home? And I'm really curious, especially, we're in a pandemic right now. We've all had to sort of change plans. Within this, like, have there been impacts of the pandemic, and have you had to change the plan from the initial plan?
Yes, that's the short answer. So this project, I proposed this project about a year ago, and the initial plan was to do something inside the building, to do an interactive installation inside, and then to also have a writing workshop component so that we would work with residents to create 3-sentence stories specifically for this project. But then when COVID happened, which is right about when we were going to start doing these writing workshops, we had to shift quite a bit, right? It couldn't be inside anymore, and we couldn't really hold these workshops where we work with the residents face to face. And so that's when Shakira and I started talking about other ways that we could kind of curate the content or gather the content in general. So Shakira, do you want to talk a little bit about how the process from there?
Yeah, of course, sure. Thank you, Lauren and Tiff. So that process has really been interesting, and it's been amazing because the actual process for the museum, we already have a few stories on our online, on our future online archive that we're planning for people to be able to have access to actually come into the museum space and be able to listen to all the stories that we potentially record about resident experiences that come from public housing or any housing development, not just in Chicago, but across the United States. So actually going through that process of picking the stories, we try to find all-inclusive stories that tell the importance of everyday life and everyday experiences with public housing residents. And a lot of the times when you see monuments and you think of exhibits or something of that sort, you're learning more about people who are well known and stories that are well known, but we try to make the importance of everyday stories and everyday people have the same amount of significance and importance as anybody else. So when we went through those stories, and me and Lauren were going through the process of trying to figure out which parts of the story should be included from the narrators, we were just basically picking out the parts of the audio that seemed like made the residents the most happiest or drew the most emotions because those significant times are and were important to them. So that's kind of how we went about the process of picking what we should be including in the actual monument project.
Great, and hopefully I didn't miss this. I was having some audio issues, but did we talk about Shakira's story being included as well? What was that process like?
Yeah, so Shakira, because that took a while for you to get your story included, because I wanted it. How did that feel? Because it's such a vulnerable experience being both in the process of curating and then also being a former public housing resident yourself.
Yeah, I actually agree. Me initially seeing the Monument Project and seeing a part of my words being brought to life, so to speak, was amazing. And it just brought up so many emotions for me because usually sometimes we as individuals are in spaces where we may not feel like recognized, or I may not feel like my story is important, but I think, and the rest of the residents got the opportunity to feel like our experiences were important, and it makes me feel like I matter. So when I actually seen my portion of my story as a part of the actual project, the finished product for the monument, it just felt amazing because I'm like, I was here. It's something that I can say like, oh, you see me, like I belong here. This is where I came from, and just kind of settling down roots. So I was very excited to be able to have that experience and to feel welcomed by that experience because it feels like it matters.
That's great. You actually included a couple of teasers in there that I want to call out. So we definitely want to talk about the aesthetics, what it actually looked like, and how the monument really, the form of the monument came to be. So I want to go to that next, but I also want to just to sort of let everyone know that we did actually, earlier this week, we invited the narrators whose stories were featured in the monument to an opening. It was a special celebration, social distance, of course, but it was in person, and they were all invited to record their reactions and comments about the monument created in their honor. And the great part about this monument is it's really just the pilot, it's the beginning. And so this was a really important process for us to engage the residents, even in before we feel like this project is really ready for the world. This is still very much a process question. But that being said, it was beautiful. Lauren, can you talk a little bit about the aesthetics and how the current form of the monument came to be?
Yes. So in the original idea, we were inside. It was like maybe a one-day installation, but because of restrictions being applied, it caused us to have to think differently, right? To reevaluate the form it was going to take in general. And so that reimagined how this project could live on and move forward. And so you kind of alluded to this, that this is our pilot, right? So the idea that came out of the transitioning from this one day inside the building installation is that we realized that these stories are just the tip of the iceberg, right? There are so many more stories to tell, and we want to be able to have the collection grow and change and evolve over time. And so we we made the website and to collect more stories, and then we want to pitch it at other places, other sites of significance for public housing. And so the form had to be malleable for that purpose, right? It had to be able to be applied in different locations, different types of places. And so the idea came to do a projection mapping of the text and to animate the text so that it has the spirit of the speaker in it, so it references what is being said. And so for this version, we have 14 stories that Shakira curated so beautifully, and then I had a team of designers that worked with me from my studio, many of whom are my former students or current students, and so that was fun. And then we came up with branding guidelines so that everything would stay consistent, and then we can animate the stories moving into the future in a consistent way. And now it's projected onto the outside of a building, and it's large scale, so it covers the 4 stories of the building at the Jane Addams Homes right now.
That's awesome. Well, I know everyone I talked to on Monday night was just so impressed and overwhelmed, and I think we can show you better than we can tell you. So why don't we play the video of Monday night and the interviews and the responses that we got.
My name is Francine Washington. I'm a resident of Chicago Housing Authority. I've lived in Stateway Gardens from 73 to 2006. And after I left Stateway Gardens in 2006, they tore it down. I moved to Washington Park, scattered sites. I'm currently and still is in Washington Park, scattered sites, waiting to return and go back to Stateway Gardens, which is now Park Boulevard. The National Public Housing Museum, what it means to me, I can't even begin to describe. I love this project. It's something new, it's something different. And just the fact it's going to be displayed 3 nights a week on this wall, if you're passing by, and if it was me, if I was passing by, and this is my regular route, every night I'm seeing something flashed on the walls, especially when I come through late at night. I'm going to come back, I'm going to bring somebody with me because it's dark and I don't want to walk off it by myself. I'm going to come, I'm going to take a look at that wall, I'm just going to stand there and try to read everything that's on that wall. It's going to be something. And if you drive by late at night, once you catch on, every night you're going to see 2 or 3, maybe 10 or 20 people out here just looking at the wall, just reading it. It's something to do. It's a must-see. The stories are just unique, and they're real, and they're honest. I love this. This is a step in the right direction.
So my name is H. Demetrius Bonner. I was born in Stateway Gardens on the south side of Chicago. Well, I think when it comes to the monument, I think it represents well from what I've seen so far. It gives a depiction of different stories of children growing up in different events that happen through public housing. I think it reveals a hidden story instead of the bad narrative that you hear, the negative narrative that you hear about public housing. I think this brings more of a overview or a most inclusive insight on some of the things that happen in the neighborhood that you don't hear about, that you didn't get a chance to hear about. The negative side, that you hear more about negative than you do the positive.
My name is Mary Baggett. I live in Abla, Brooks Home Community. It was beautiful. I was a little stunned and shocked because I didn't know that this was taking place, and I didn't know it was going to be engraved on a wall or nothing like that. But I thought it was quite beautiful. I really enjoyed it. It was nice.
My name is Alan Schwartz. I lived here in the Jane Addams projects a long time ago, way back to 1943 when I was born. And we moved out when I was 11 and a half in 1954. I liked it. I think the whole idea is wonderful to have the voices of the people who lived here. And I was wondering, what are they going to take from my story? And I think they picked just about the most perfect thing. There was a movie theater over here, the Garden Theater. And that's what they selected when I was talking about how we used to go to the Garden once or twice a week. And in those days, everybody went to the local movie theater. So I think they picked the perfect thing.
Hi, my name is Tommy Woods. I grew up at the Chicago Public Housing at Latham Homes, located at Diversity Damon. The monument tonight on this beautiful windy night in Chicago, as you can see in the backdrop, it was awesome to see not just my words, everybody's words up on the wall. My words in particular was about hope, whereas a lot of people looking at the wall see my words, they were about hope, opportunity, whereas people never seen the inside of a project. But I'll never say project, say homes, because inside Latham Homes, it was tranquility, peace, love, family, unity. And within that unity, we stuck together and always stick together even to this present day. So the National Public Museum, I thank you for your opportunity of showcasing my story.
My name is Marshall Elijah Hatch, and I lived in Jane Addams Public Housing from the age of 2 all the way to the age of 16. And this was literally home, just a few feet from here. We lived at 835 South Ada, and my mom actually passed away in the apartment, in the bathroom, early in the morning in January of 1967, in a snowstorm. And so for us, this is really, for our family and the generations, sacred and really holy ground for us, but great memories of a great childhood here. Oh, it was powerful for our family. Our sister Rhoda Jean Hatch was the oldest sister in our family of 8. I had 7 sisters, and she passed away on April 4th, 2020, COVID and the pandemic. And we saw her words, the poetry of her words. We weren't able to have a funeral at the time that she passed, and so all of this has really given us a lot of feeling of fulfillment to see her words lifted up and to know that her story has been told and she will not be forgotten.
My name's Shalonda McIntosh. I live in Cabrini Green. It was beautiful. It's speechless. Just to know that my voice is heard. To know that it means a lot. It's love, it's compassion, it's touching at the same time. It's wonderful, marvelous. Just to know that the museum is like, it'll connect us all. It don't make a difference what development you're from. All of us share the same common goals. All of us want something bigger and different in life. We had candy stores in every development. We had people that did hair in every development. We had entrepreneurs in every development. We had issues in every household. And everybody got along. Everybody was family. Everybody played. Everybody looked out for each other. And just to know that it's sitting right here, this museum, it gives everybody that never lived there a look onto what's really happening there, how they really can see it instead of viewing us from a different point of view.
My name is Raymond McDonald. I live in Cabrini Green, apartment complex 870. My impression of seeing the stories represented in the James Adam homes, that was awesome. I got a chance to actually see my words projected on a big screen. That's pretty cool when you think about it. In a different neighborhood as well too, one like my own. And it allows me to feel like I can connect with them a little bit more. Hopefully the people who come back to this neighborhood and get a chance to see their neighborhood, get a chance to see my words in their neighborhood, and we can connect that way too. Because their real homes are kind of like my own. What is next for the future? Let's connect. How can we connect a little more? And thank you. I appreciate you.
Action.
All right. So thank you so much for watching that. It was phenomenal listening to the responses. But as Shaq said or asked at the end about how you can get involved, if you are a resident, we would love to have your story. So if you wanted to go to athomemonument.org, you can submit your story to the collection. We also would love for residents across the country to be involved in the process of curating and developing future versions of the monument. So please get connected with us. You can email us, go to nphm.org for more information on how to connect with the museum. And you can also go visit. The installation will be up the rest of tonight, and then tomorrow and Saturday from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. And I will be there both days, so I hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lauren. We're still taking questions. If there are any questions that you all have on your mind from listening and watching, we'd love to take questions. You can post those in the live chat. We'll just give a second to see if we have any questions coming through. Otherwise, please do stay on because we are actually going to play footage from the monument. So especially if you're not in Chicago or you can't get here in the next couple of days, or if you're just not able to get out there and you are in Chicago, that works as well. We can definitely, we would love to have you stay and hang out for the viewing that we're about to play. We're also on Instagram. Our stories are live now. We have footage of the monument on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram as well, and you'll see lots of great things there. Just checking in with the team. All right, looks like we're going to go straight into the monument. So let's do it, folks. We are going to transition into the video, and we're going to say goodnight now. And we thank you so much for being here. I want to make sure, Shakira and Lauren, I want to thank you so much for being here and for all of the work that you put into this project. We really want to also thank special thanks to the residents who participated, who shared their stories, but also who gave us input on the project and gave us lots of great feedback and have contributed to the project thus far. And for all of you who will continue to contribute and to continue to grow this, we thank you in advance. So thank you, good night, and please enjoy.
Yeah. Unknown Brain. Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games, and I know that I found somebody else to love me one day. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side. No, you did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. So now I gotta say
Yeah, my life is lovely now, I'm focused on me. You said you were about to die, I guess the car is on E. But see, I ain't even tripping, cause I just chose to believe that somebody gon' come around and give me just what I need. I don't wanna see you finding, see you looking down and out, coming to me crying, saying you miss having me around. Gave you chances and you blew it, you so easily influenced. All the times you told me beat it, now you gotta face the music. I'm saying